Blog Talk Radio. Blog Talk Radio.
Well, hello, and welcome to today's episode of XANDERMONIUM, the talk show that gets you talking. I'm your host, Xander Gibb, and on today's show, joining us are my guests, Dr. Katie Levisay, who is a neuropsychologist, professor, writer for the Flip Collective, and Dr. Jake Pentland of the Pentland Institute, who is a radio and TV personality, producer, writer, director, reality television star, and man with a Jesus complex. And in our second show in our psychology series, we will be talking about obesity. Yes, one of my favorite subjects. All this for your education and entertainment. More to come in a mere moment. You can interact with us during the show. This is pre-recorded, but we will be around in the chat room. You can call us at the end with questions because we will come live for What's Your Beef on 347-884-9061. That's 347-884-9061 at the last section of the show for What's Your Beef. Call us and tell us who's pissed you off this week. Maybe it's me, maybe it's Jake. I doubt that it's Dr. Katie, but who knows after this show, but I doubt it. You can tweet me at Xander Gibb, XANDERGIBB, and you can also tweet Katie, Dr. Katie, and her Twitter handle is at KAYTELEV. That's KAYTLEV. And of course, you can tweet Jake Pentland on at Jake Pentland, JAKPENTLAND, and that's capital J, capital P. Don't forget, you can also check Jake out on Saturdays for his usual brand of entertainment and talk, 1 p.m. PST or 4 p.m. EST, with Jake, Jen, Eli, and Susie, and all the crazy cult of Jake peeps. Now, I keep getting asked questions about when Brandy and Jenny are coming back with Timeout Seat. Best thing is to tweet them and ask them, because as much as I love their show, I really don't know. You can tweet them at Timeout Seat, TIMEOUTSEAT. Also check out the Rob and Trav Show, Tuesdays, 8 p.m. EST or 5 p.m. PST on grindhouseradio.com, or you can also check them out on their own website, www.robandtravshow.com. I'm sure I will see you there. Last but not least, check out the Dr. Gina Show, weekdays 10 till 12 PST, 1 till 3 p.m. EST, and you can get her show via drginaloudon.com. That's drginaloudon.com. GINLOUDON. I see one of my guests is on the switchboard already, so I will begin my introduction. So it may surprise you to know that more than a third of adults in the United States, that's 35.7%, are obese, and it's reaching epidemic proportions among non-Hispanic, Black, and Mexican-American men. Those with higher incomes are more likely to be obese than those with low incomes, which I find very interesting. There is no significant relationship between obesity and education among men. Among women, however, there is a trend. Those with college degrees are less likely to be obese compared with those less educated women. There was a dramatic increase in obesity in the United States from 1990 through 2010, and I'm left wondering why that is. Maybe it was because of the economic downturn, but I guess that's not really ended. Obesity results from an accumulation of excess fat in the body. Obesity is a chronic, long-term disease like high blood pressure or diabetes. It has long-term serious consequences for your health, and it's the leading cause, wrong teeth in today, of preventable deaths in the United States. Each year, Americans spend billions of dollars on dieting, diet books, diet pills, and the like. Another $75 billion is spent treating the disease associated with obesity. Businesses suffer an estimated $20 million loss in productivity every year from absence due to illness caused by obesity. The clear difference with food as an addiction that no one seems to notice that unlike alcohol and drugs, etc., food is something you cannot give up totally. As a person, get those teeth in right, as a person who is obese, I know the way not to be is to eat less, drink more water, sleep better, get more exercise, etc. However, putting these things into practice on an ongoing basis is, however, a different matter. I've tried every diet there is, and my weight loss is slow but noticeable. Today we're going to look at the psychology of obesity and possible ways to assist with the procedure of getting healthy and fit. So to assist me in looking at these matters further are my guest, Dr. Katie Levisay. As I said, she's a neuropsychologist, and Jake Pentland, Dr. Jake Pentland, should I say, from the Pentland Institute. Let me just see if both my guests are here. They are. Let's welcome Dr. Jake Pentland and Dr. Katie Levisay. Welcome back to the show, guys.
Well, thank you. Hello, Doctor.
Thank you, Xander. Hello, Doctor.
How you doing,
Doctor?
Xander?
You may call me Dr. Gibb, Jake.
That is the longest fucking intro I've ever had to listen to.
I didn't. I tuned in at the end. I didn't even get to hear it, and I wanted to.
Oh, no, you're lucky.
Summarize it.
It's basically the proper
What are we talking
spelling.
about today? That Tebow going to the Patriots? Was that the
I
topic
hope so.
today?
It's whatever we want, Katie. Really.
No, Jake.
No, it's not. I'm kidding, Xander.
I'm sorry, Xander. You're the boss. It was Xander, just to fill you in what you missed, Katie, it was Xander spelling each of our names properly, letter by letter, for about 45 minutes.
Oh, good. That's important.
45 minutes. Well, you
For
said you
all
wanted
of
more
the people who want to Google search your sex tapes, they'll want to have the correct spelling, Jake.
You know, Jake and I are going to release a sex tape, and we're going to give it to TMZ.
I did not know that.
I did not know that either.
Oh, we won't be having sex together, please. I'm not that depraved, but yeah.
What's up, Xander? I'm sorry, we're not going to hijack your show today, right, Katie? We're going to be good.
No, we're not. We're going to behave.
Change.
Right, so Xander, you tell us what to do.
Right. Well, let's get this one out of the way first of all, because it's a given. People become overweight because over a period of time they've eaten too much on an ongoing basis and not gotten enough exercise. The simple answer is obviously to eat less and get more exercise, which is a very simplistic and impersonal approach, Jake. But I'd like to delve a little deeper into this today. Now, because this is somewhat of a specialist field for me, because I have suffered with weight issues for all of my life. So I'm quite happy to be totally frank and honest about this, so we can delve into a little bit further. I don't have an off switch regarding food, and if I don't actually stop myself, I can eat beyond full, which is kind of scary to me. Now, Katie, I want to come to you first of all. Something I found on the internet that really interested me is that it said that we learn our eating behaviors. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, I mean, that's a part of it. I think you, before I get too further, because I also want to hear Jake's position on this, I want Jake to clarify his position on this, because I'm not sure.
Yeah, that would be
I understand exactly where he's coming from, but I would say you sort of hit on it, that it is a really complex issue, that certainly there are learned behaviors, but there is also a really compelling genetic, in particular epigenetic, field of research looking at all of the different factors that go into this.
Well, let me clarify that I need clarification from you, actually, Katie, because you were following...
What is your position?
Well,
what is your position on obesity? What is your position? because it's a similar theme, isn't it? Obesity, addiction, mood disorders,
you know my
etc.
Yeah.
No, I think you... Clarify it.
Well, first I want to say you got in, I guess your in-laws were staying with you or something. You were busy for a week and a half.
Yes,
and
I missed the show.
Okay.
And I don't want to.
And you missed the fatty war afterwards, the fatty attack, like the zombie hoarding, the Walking Dead, the waddling dead of zombies.
So I guess I'm probably bringing us back.
Okay, so let me just catch up.
So I apologize.
Well, I got to catch you up first. So
okay.
I did a show. I'll do this really quick, Xander, unlike your intro. I did a show where I was talking about Abercrombie and Fitch, who didn't want to sell clothes to fat women because he said fat women weren't cool. And some fat woman wrote a blog. Her name was Jess Baker, and she was like, "Excuse me, sir, fat women are beautiful," which is a total lie. So I went on the air and said, look, let's not even have the debate about Abercrombie and Fitch whether or not they should sell clothes to fatties, because that's their choice and their private business, and it's a stupid debate. Let's talk about why this fat woman, Jess Baker, is asking all of us to change what we think is attractive instead of her going on a diet. And and then I went off on fatties for an hour. I was very mad at this Jess Baker lady because it's the thing that always makes me mad. It's that people, instead of taking personal responsibility or accepting the fact that they're unattractive, and they demand all of us change 100,000 million years of genetic memory to suit their disgusting behavior. So I went off on fatties.
Wait. Okay, so a lot of what you're saying, understandable, okay? But then when we veer off is statements like disgusting behavior, right?
Well, I'm working on my language.
Because it's all her fault that she's overweight.
No. See, okay.
And we're all, okay.
I understand the confusion. You guys aren't able to keep up with my awesomeness. I get it.
No, we're not. You have to be very slow with us.
I was saying that this disgusting orb of humanity, Jess Baker, this giant fat body, I don't have a problem with her being fat. I don't have a problem with fat. It's fine. You want to be fat. I have a problem with anyone who's unattractive saying that I need to find them attractive.
Okay, that's fine.
So, well, of course, because I want to crush her spirits. My hope is that Jess Baker will somehow hear my insults, and she'll either just be quiet and leave the rest of us alone or eat herself to death. I'm happy with either one. So anyway, this was the show I did. Well, all the fatties got mad and assumed that I have some problem with fatties, so I got in this fatty war, which is what you came across on Twitter.
But why would they assume you have a problem with fatties? Because you're saying two things. You're expressing that you have a problem with two things. First of all, that they're fat and disgusting, and that they're asking you to find them attractive.
Right.
Or to change your
but I would do the same.
Your parameters of attractiveness.
And I did. This is something the fatties missed. I also said in the same show that I feel the same way about anorexics, alcoholics, muscle-bound, muscle-massed bodybuilders of either sex. It was that I made the point that your physical body is a physical manifestation of internal dysfunction, if you're that extreme on either side, and that none of that is attractive because it's dysfunctional. It's not that fat people are disgusting because they're fat. It's that fat people are disgusting to me and to everybody, let's be honest. I'm just saying the thing nobody wants to say, because it's a physical manifestation of something deeper. And no one's attracted to screwed up, dysfunctional people, no matter what you look like. You know what I mean? Like if you get too much plastic surgery, nobody finds you attractive. They call you the cat lady. If you're putting fingers down your throat to puke because you think you're fat and you weigh 16 pounds and everyone can see your ribs, nobody finds that attractive. Of course, none of those people got upset. I didn't get Twitter wars with anorexics or muscle-bound people. I think they got the message, or they don't listen to me. But the fatties were very, very upset. And that's where you came in, Katie. When you were talking, you said there were so many things wrong. So let's go there with your medical opinion when I was saying that I don't know what you had a problem with my Twitter.
So I guess...
So now you're caught up.
I guess also what needs clarification is what your goal is here. And I think in general with... what you're doing with your show, with where you want to go with this. You've talked about having a show about this. Yeah. What your general goal is in terms of your approach, your opinions, and your approach.
My general goal is first to start nice and say, hey, I think you should take responsibility for yourself, which I do. I talk about in some form or another every word that comes out of my mouth on air.
Okay, and so just to stop on that point for a minute,
Yeah.
taking responsibility specifically for you, let's talk about the obesity issue just to make things simple for a minute, but it can be generalized to addiction and mental illness, everything else you've covered.
Yes.
The obesity issue in and of itself, so taking responsibility, is that inextricably intertwined with the message that people have. It's an easy issue. It's an issue that people can control. Calories in, calories out, all of that.
No, I don't feel that way. I've done many shows on obesity where I've taken the approach that it is, well, I hate the term disease, as you know, but that it is something going on. It is post-traumatic. That's my theory.
For everyone.
And it's a form of armor. And I'm not one of those people that's like, hey, fat people stop eating and exercise, you'll lose weight. Like, that's overly simplifying a deep emotional issue. So, no, I would never say that.
But only a deep emotional issue. It has nothing to do with any sort of neurobiological mediating factors, genetics, epigenetics.
That's your crazy pseudoscience that you practice over there in Colorado.
Then that's what we need to talk about.
Okay. All right, Xander, we caught up now?
If I can, because I'm currently high now as a resident of Colorado as well, because all we do is smoke.
That's true.
Pot.
I'm moving to Colorado.
So, Xander,
does not help with losing weight.
I just think it's important to note, again, that if you just follow me in the cult in the show, if a fat person or anorexic or drug addict says to me, yeah, I eat too much, I've got problems, I don't go after them. It's
right,
so obvious.
It's not a matter. But here, even there's your judgment. They've got problems. Yeah. It all has to
we
stem,
all have
no matter
problems.
the issue,
we all have
an underlying emotional traumatic event. So every single alcoholic out there has had some traumatic emotional event. Every person who's battling with their weight, some traumatic emotional event.
I believe that.
Theory.
I believe that. And hold on, just to define the terms. Now, trauma is
and that's
subjective.
where you're wrong.
No, trauma can be subjective. Trauma can be like the boy you liked in 8th grade said no thank you when you asked him to the prom. I mean, it depends. Everybody's different levels of sensitivity, but that can be trauma to somebody. They're a total puss bag, but that could be trauma to them. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying it has to be your uncle molesting you or you have to be beaten. It could be something along the way where you just took it way too internal.
Okay, so by taking that argument, you're necessarily taking the position that we are all genetically identical. So we all have the same exact capacity to store fat. We all have the same exact capacity to burn fat. We all have the same metabolism rates. We all have the same ability to metabolize alcohol, et cetera, right?
No, I do not believe that.
If it's all coming back to trauma. We just want to ignore that part of it, though.
No.
It's not as fun.
But you do get that impression from listening to you, Jake, with the greatest of respect. I
that's
mean,
because you're not listening.
No, it's not because I'm not listening. It must have something to do with your method of delivery. Remember we talked the other day about, you said, we talked about your aims with these shows, and you said you wanted to help and entertain. And I said, I'm not sure if you can do it, because you can't say, hey, I'm looking to help you, but I also want to have a laugh at your expense.
Why can't you do that?
That's problematic.
I don't, because I don't think you can. I don't think you can do that.
I think those goals, in many ways, are mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
So if you really, honestly, genuinely want to help people, what does that mean? You want to help people. You want to help fatties. What does that mean?
Well, like I said,
you want to inspire them to lose weight. You want to.
No, I don't care what. I think I found the problem here. It's you guys. So we all know that now. It's clear.
Okay.
Wow.
So that's cool.
Cool. Are we done?
No. Here's what if someone.
How do you want to help people?
What does that sound?
Xander?
Rousing round of applause.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. No, here's the thing. This is what happens to me all the time. I say something and then I sort of poke the bear and watch the reactions. That's how I can kind of find where somebody's wrong and where their dysfunction is speaking and where they're reacting emotional. It's like, you're a scientist or a doctor. You understand.
Pseudo-scientist.
You're
right.
a pseudo-doctor, yes, exactly. So
a sham scientist.
Right, a sham scientist. So, but you still had to learn, like, real science before you went into the sham fields, I imagine, like as a prereq.
Wow.
And let's just clarify, neurology is a sham science, correct?
Yes, that
Genetics
is correct.
is a sham. Okay, just wanted to clarify that.
No, okay, we got a lot of things going on here. Let me just reiterate, and then we can go back. I don't care if somebody's fat. My goal is not to make fat people skinny. No, I don't care. If you want to be fat, be fat.
How are you helping a fat person?
Because my goal is, if you are fat and you are unhappy and you do feel unattractive, don't spend your day larding around to and fucking Abercrombie and Fitch and blogs and talking about how the world is screwed up because it doesn't fit your personal fucking view of your dysfunction. Just say I'm fucked up. That's all I ask. Just say I'm fat because I eat too much, because I'm armoring myself because my uncle reamed my anus.
But that's not the only reason.
It's
a really limited, simplistic view, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. You do. Okay. I mean, we do not. Partially, there's no reason we have to change our views of what's attractive, what's not. I completely agree with you that entire movement to get everybody else to change is ridiculous. But
movement. I prefer it called.
Really?
Okay. Yes, I hear you. But again. Oh, I lost my train of thought.
But are you really? But you seem shocked by the response you get when you call people cows, when you say people are disgusting. I mean, because you're mixing the messages. It's not just about how they're responding to this specific issue. It's that they've had some emotional trauma that they're not owning up to, and they're dysfunctional.
Yes. That is
and
true.
that's how you're and that's how you're going to help somebody increase.
Yes.
So we've talked about introspection before, right? Somebody having the insight to be able to look at what's going on in their lives, to be honest with things that might not be going well.
Right.
So one of your goals may be to help them become more insightful, more introspective.
Of course.
By attacking them.
Yes. I don't understand why that doesn't work. Maybe you can help me there.
I'll tell you, I'll give you a sham explanation for why that doesn't work. I mean, that's straight neurology.
Yeah, how long have you got, Jake, really? I mean...
No, honestly. Okay, so you look at our brains, our being human. What separates us from animals, which are basically just emotionally reactive creatures, is our cortex.
As we understand. Right.
Is our cortex.
Okay.
No, we know.
Yeah.
I can look at a brain of a dog and a brain of your brain, okay? Mm-hmm. The one thing that will be striking is not the similar size, but that your brain hopefully has a lot more folds and convolutions. That's the cortex, right? That's the outer part of the brain. That's what's grown. That's what separates humans from our primate fellows and animals, okay? That's the part of the brain. What else separates us? Our behaviorally, our ability to be introspective, our ability to be insightful, our ability to make decisions and not simply react emotionally.
Right. Well, except for
men and women. I'm going to just cut you off there. So that part of our brain is automatically short-circuited or hijacked when our emotional brain, our subcortical parts of our brain, our limbic system, the amygdala, are activated. And they become activated in times of stress or if we're being threatened. It's really smart evolutionarily that if something's falling on us, we're not sitting there calculating the rate at which it's falling and the geometric path it's falling, or if a bear is chasing us, we're not, contemplating all of the, mysteries of the universe. Our cortex shuts off. We don't care how the bear is feeling. We just get the hell out of there, right?
Right.
Our sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, those things activate. And so when someone's attacked or someone's, feeling they automatically need to be defensive, there's no introspection going on. There's no ability to be insightful.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Right.
Okay. So,
but, I'm not a neurologist or neuroscientist, obviously. Is it possible that if somebody could have it pointed out to them when they are reacting like an animal, if they could become aware of it, maybe not in the moment, but eventually, later on, with repeated having someone who hosts a podcast for instance, repeatedly pointing it out to you that you're reacting emotionally.
Making them angry and
right.
repeatedly
and
making them feel threatened and repeatedly making them, no.
And then, hold on, let me finish. When that's happening
I don't think that's an effective way.
Well, hold on. Let me finish. When the dust settles and the emotion has passed and we're all friends again, and then the fallout is happening, we're sort of cleaning up our relationship after the bad turn.
Why would you need to go there? Why does that need to go there? Because of your other mutually exclusive goal of entertaining people.
Well, no. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to lie.
And being shocking.
Of course, it's fun. But hold on. I think it can work. And tell me if it doesn't. I'm asking you, honestly.
I don't think it does.
Well, let me ask you a question.
That's why we're here.
See, you're reacting emotionally, like a woman right now.
No, but how many people do you think you've actually helped? How many people did you actually help lose
being your higher order cortical functioning women?
That's the crux matter.
Wait, I couldn't. You're both talking over each other.
I'm not talking at all. Xander's just cutting out, I think.
Yeah, he's on phonage. Can you hear us, Xander?
I'm not. This is not the Vonage line. Actually, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
you
go
were
ahead.
Cutting out a little bit.
The point I was making is, how many people do you think you've actually helped, Jake? How many people have actually lost weight from hearing your show?
Again,
or even just felt less dysfunctional, because your goal is not to have people lose weight. It's to admit their dysfunction.
Right. I would say I have a high. I'd say I'm in the high 90% success rate of people admitting their dysfunction. Whether they will to me, I believe I've had everyone question at some point whether they're reacting dysfunctionally or emotionally to things I've said. That doesn't mean that they're not continuing to attack me.
Okay, so that's completely different. Somebody's reaction can be functional or dysfunctional to what you're saying. Absolutely.
This is what I'm trying to tell you, Katie.
Confound that or mix that with people's weight, with people's addiction, which can have a dysfunctional component or cannot.
Right.
I will tell you. In fact, I have.
You understand the question? You understand what I'm saying, right?
I do, but I think you're confounding things, and that's why it gets confusing.
Well, of course.
And at the end of the day, it probably doesn't matter because, again, a big part of your goal is entertainment, and oftentimes that is, like I said, I think mutually exclusive to honestly helping people. But I think it's not a matter of. I think you're mixing trying to get people to admit dysfunction or their dysfunctional reaction to you versus really understanding some of these issues that they're struggling with, which are not all tied exclusively and solely to an emotionally traumatic event.
Let me tell you where
it's just simplistic, right. And I think that is problematic because it, in many ways, gets people away from wanting to understand where they are. And actually, if you go to the research, there's studies show, again, taking the obesity theme, don't laugh at me, but studies show that if you... I'm
not laughing at you.
Educate people about the genetic component. It's not an excuse, like so many people think it is. It actually is much more inspiring to them to understand that things they've been doing that the doctors told them that people shame them about. You just have to eat less and exercise more. It's that easy, lazy. It actually inspires them and helps them to really keep at an exercise regimen.
What do you think? Okay, let's just, since you won't answer any of my questions, I'll try another one.
Okay, just try one.
How did she not answer your questions?
This is his blatant response to distract and discount what somebody has said. So go ahead.
I'll just tell you where I come from, okay? I don't want to give all my trade secrets away, but this is a part of my life where things begin to sort of fall into place, okay? I know everyone's going to think what I'm going to talk about, but it's going to surprise you. When I started, and I don't do it anymore because I'm a fat, lazy piece of crap, but when I was doing martial arts for a while, I was doing it pretty regularly with the old school sensei.
A week.
What's that?
I said, you mean a week.
No, I did it for probably like a year or two. Xander, you sound very upset. Anyway, so I'm
not upset at all.
Martial arts thing, and there was this method of learning which worked for me. Maybe I'm different than other people, but it's the way my sensei taught me. It's the way he learned. It goes back thousands of years. And basically what it is it's pretty much a no bullshit method. When you go to therapy or when you talk your feelings or when you go to a dietitian or nutrition, using the obesity as an example, they're going to say all sorts of things. They're going to say what I say, that it's trauma. They're going to say it's genetic. They're going to give you a whole list of reasons, and you're going to get lost in those reasons, when really the truth of it, the heart of it is, granted, and this is my theory, I could be wrong, but I do believe, and we're talking obesity, not 10 pounds overweight, we're talking hundreds of pounds overweight, or 100
right.
plus. We're talking post-traumatic disorder, in my theory.
And that is where we disagree wholeheartedly.
Okay, but let me just for the sake of argument, consider that this is correct. Go with me.
If that is correct, okay.
Hypothetically, that my theory is correct.
If that incorrect hypothesis is correct, go ahead.
Then, the very face when we would learn martial arts, it's not just learning a move. Like, you don't just go chop a piece of wood and you're like, oh, I'm a fucking black belt now. It's like, why are you holding back? Why are you not doing full force? Are you afraid of the pain? You have to psychologically examine yourself to move forward. That's why it's so powerful. That's why people that are doing it forever are always cool and calm, blah, blah, blah. Whenever any sort of emotional thing would come up, you could catch it right away in those examples, because there was adrenaline, there was emotional reaction, you were worried about getting punched in the fucking face, it hurt, and you didn't have time to process and get lost in theory of processes. You had to react instantly. And I found that kind of refreshing over time. Like, wait a minute, I don't have time to talk about why I do this. Why I just got to stop doing it or I'm going to get punched in the nuts. And I started to psychologically improve and grow instantly.
So that's not introspection, that's reacting.
It's
learning
reacting,
how to not reacting emotionally. Sure.
It's catching yourself by being introspective, of catching yourself when you're being emotionally reactive. So
you're saying if I catch myself when I'm about to overeat, then bingo, we've got a solution. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Well, let me just come back.
Not when you're going to overeat, why you're going to. Oh no, hold on. Not catching yourself when you're going to overeat. Catching yourself,
Jake,
when you feel the desire to overeat.
I know more about this than most people. Let me fill you in on a couple of points. First of all, one of the things I want to respond to is that
I'm going to think a lot more about that, Jay, because that's interesting. I don't mean to interrupt you, Xander, and I'm going to let you continue on, but I'm going to think a lot more about that, because I think there's something there, but I also think there's something not there, if that makes sense. So go ahead.
I will say I have brilliant theories, but unfortunately my brain is not that intelligent. This is true. So imagine like stuffing thousands of pounds of something in a small box. That's kind of how my head works. It's why I ramble and make no sense and seem incoherent. But there is something deeper and more intelligent going on there. I can't figure it out myself. I'll be honest. It's hard.
Okay. Well, but that's why I love you, because there's something there, and you know, I understand that. I'm not going to. I just need to think through it, because I think there's something there, but I also think there's something not there. So anyway, go ahead, Xander.
Yeah, I know, because you're thinking I'm doing. I know what you think I'm doing, Katie, and for the most part, I would say you're about 65% correct. But
welcome to the Jake Pentland show.
I'm sorry, Xander.
No, I'm the one who interrupted.
It's cool.
Xander, go ahead.
We're trying to help you not eat so much, Xander. We're here for you.
Wow. Okay. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Number one, with the greatest of respect, Jake is a good friend, and we talk a lot and stuff, but
that's not true.
In all fairness, I think shut your face. In all fairness, I think that this is a generalization on Jake's part with reference to any kind of addiction. Now, the difference between addiction to food and addiction to any other substance, you don't actually need other substances. You don't need drugs. You don't need alcohol. So with regards to a food addiction, it's a totally different thing, because you can't give up food altogether. Now, over the past 3 or 4 years, my life has changed immensely. I've eaten healthily for the past 2, but I eat mostly organic and stuff like that. But my portion control is the issue. Now, I've suffered all of my life with depression, and I'm in the best place I've been for a long time. However, there is a link between obesity and depression. And when my life is going well, I'm getting my exercise, I'm eating properly and eating healthily. But when things are not going so well and my depression kicks in, like a drug addict would run to buy cocaine or heroin or whatever else, and an alcoholic would run to buy liquor, I run to the refrigerator. So there is a direct correlation between.
Well, you don't run to the refrigerator. I mean, let's be honest.
Okay, Tater. Thanks for that
But I hear
Thanks
you.
for that observation.
And absolutely, that's a component. You were discussing the psychological component of it.
Right.
What I would say to you,
Absolutely.
Xander, and this is not an excuse or not a way for you to never try hard again, but looking at your body type and looking at who do we know that's really, really skinny, that couldn't put on weight if they could. Okay, Jake.
No, all joking aside, I would say Posh Spice or whatever her name is, David Beckham's wife. Although I do believe she's not.
Great example.
But
So, pretend she has the same level of depression for whatever issues are going on in Xander's life. The two of them are not going to respond. So if she starts working out, if Xander has her genetic constitution and starts working out or maybe finds other ways to deal with his depression, his body is not going to respond the same way in terms of burning fat or storing fat than hers is. And so it becomes a really complicated, just defeating cycle. And I think that's the component that gets simplified, and it's a really important component.
But if you
so just eating less and eating healthily and exercising will work only to a certain extent with Xander versus somebody who is built differently. And that's only my concern is completely ignoring the genetic component of this.
But there certainly is a genetic.
And we're not all the same.
There certainly is. I have 5 brothers and 4 sisters. My father, God rest his soul, was as thin as you could be. My mother has always been big. My brothers are all thin-ish. Myself and my sister, I've always had this propensity towards obesity. Now, on my mother's side of the family, my uncle is obese too. Now, you could argue that this is just because of lifestyle choices, but there is a direct correlation. I'm not saying this as any kind of excuse, but there is a direct correlation, or it can be a direct correlation with genetics too.
It's absolutely part of the picture. And that's all I'm asking is for a much more kind of complex view of it, and not
you're talking to me, right?
I don't think it does anybody any good. I mean, I think simplification in some areas helps, but ignoring a huge piece of the puzzle in all of these issues, I think doesn't do anybody any good.
It might not do anyone any good, but again, if your uncle or you or any obese person were, and this is not what I'm saying to do, but again, if they were put on a desert island with no food and they had to go hunt for their food, they would lose weight. They might not look like Posh, but they would be skinny if they were starving. They wouldn't keep a pot belly. No, I mean, like, look, we're talking Holocaust conditions now. Let's say we put them in the Holocaust in concentration camps where they're not eating.
Why does it always go here with?
Because the point I'm trying to make is if fuck genetics, they're going to be skin and bones and soap like the rest of the people in the Holocaust. That's just what I'm saying. They're going to degenerate.
So we'll just keep them in a Holocaust situation.
No. See, you're not listening to me.
New theme
I already know
Jake.
Xander isn't going to listen to me, but Katie, I expect you to listen to me. I'm only making that as a counter argument.
No, I want you to clarify that, Jake.
I'm not saying
why
let's
do you know that I'm not
going to
listen to you?
Because I've known you for some time.
I think you should know
I'm
better
not saying they should be in a concentration camp.
Let's clear it up for people that can't understand because we're all so smart, minus Xander. Let's just say this.
Wow.
If this is a counter argument, if somebody says, which I know, here's what you're saying, Katie. Correct me if I'm wrong. People store fat different. They have different metabolic rates. You and I talked last time on Xander's show about dopamine centers in the brain that food can go to the same as an orgasm for some people. That's different for others, and I do consider.
And addiction. Addiction's the same way. People respond differently, different highs, how they, how hungover they get, how well they metabolize food, alcohol, all of that, and that is an absolute part of the picture that can't be ignored because otherwise you're saying if everybody does the same thing, if everybody just doesn't eat and exercise. I mean, people even respond differently to exercise. People even have, experience much more discomfort exercising than others. It's just much more complex.
I'm not I know you think I discount that. I don't discount that. For the record, I'm going on record now. I do not discount that. It's just when you're dealing with
your approach.
When you're dealing
Don't
with
you think sometimes?
Well, if I could,
Because your biggest fear is that people use the complexity of situations, make things too complex as an excuse to get out of facing what they need to face.
Yes,
and I would argue that sometimes that's the truth, A lot of times it's not the truth.
What good can come out of somebody who's struggling, dealing with PTSD, again, considering my theory is correct?
Well, and again, PTSD, I know you had the DSM, but you're just throwing it out there that somebody had PTSD from being
that's a
turned
very
down
good
by
point.
a boy. So
you're a very good point. That's a very good
different.
You're right. Let's say somebody's, how about this? Somebody's eating emotionally. Is that something we can agree on?
Mm-hmm. Has an emotional component to their eating behavior.
Okay.
Yes. Great.
And they eat too much or too little. Okay. When somebody's doing that, they're not being, it's not logic, it's not health concerns. It's something different driving the boat there. So what good is it to tell somebody like that who's in, and let's be real, they're in danger. It's a life or death thing. What good is it to say to them, hey, it might be genetic, it might be something else, it's not your fault? I mean, that's, to me.
No, that's not what, it's not what you don't have to attach well, I do think it is an important message that it's not people's,
We're trying to save lives.
Let me back
here.
up. So I agree, and I think that by telling someone or educating someone to the different components of what might be going on for them isn't necessarily saying it's not your fault or you don't have to do anything about it. It's giving them that much more information that they can attack, that they can understand.
But at the end of the day,
one regimen doesn't fit for everybody, right?
No, but at the end of the day, they have to deal with the emotional component if they're emotional eaters, which you've agreed.
If there is an emotional component to that,
and that's what I'm talking about. Then having more information.
Then I would say you can go about a behavioral management program, and depending on their body type and size, understand that there are things that are going to get in the way of that, and because they might not be able to maintain that all the time, and they might have hiccups along the way. It's not because they're lazy, or it's not because they can't do things as well as the skinny person down the street. They're just they got tossed a bad deck of cards. I'm now mixing my analogies again, but you know what I mean? I think that's helpful. I think that's empowering to people, because people are going to fail at something, not just because they're not facing their emotional fears or because they're not doing the emotional work they need to, but because they're exercising their brains out and they're not seeing any results or as much results as they would like to, and that's completely defeating.
It's clear that go on.
It's your show. I'll let you talk this one time.
I was just going to say it's clear that with eating, part of eating and overeating is a learned behavior that it can be changed. And a friend of mine who lives in the UK who is a psychiatrist was telling me about these kind of leaps and bounds in cognitive behavioral therapy for people with obesity issues. But let's face it, you have to be committed to it for it to work, because to unlearn any bad behavior or harmful behavior, you've got to, because I can do it short term, I can do it for a couple of months, but as soon as that, because you see, part of the issue is for me, I don't know when my blue patch is coming. I don't know when my depressive period comes, for want of a better phraseology. And if I did, that would probably help me. And I can sometimes fight through it, but other times I just kind of give up. But they become less and less prevalent the older I get.
Or since you started listening to the Jake Pentland Show.
Oh, of course. I mean, my life is only
that's not a joke.
Because I listen
that's
to your
not
show.
A joke. You know what? That's not a joke. That was only a mild joke. You did ask me how many people I've helped.
One of your greatest strengths, and this is something that's very dear to my heart, Jay, because we've talked about this before, is I completely support you, because if you want to make, I can't even articulate this because this is so important. It's emotional. But you are trying to create an atmosphere in which people can feel comfortable about saying, I'm not perfect, I have these issues, let me look at them, let me, confront them, instead of making the rest of the world change, like your example with the woman who was
Just Baker. The blogger.
Baker. Yes. Yeah. And so there's a really
blogger,
sincere, genuine push
Katie
for you to
me.
do this.
She loves me so much, Xander. Can you hear it?
I'm getting emotional.
Yeah,
but
she does.
But that's
and
why
I can
care so much, because it gets mixed up.
Right.
And I know that it always will, because that's the entertainment value, that's the shock value, which you also need to get where you need to be to really help a lot of people. But it frustrates me.
How about this? I got it. I do, and I know where the confusion is between you and I. I figured it out. It's what you just said when you were talking about not to discredit the genetic component, that people are going to lose weight different, and you called me out on the Holocaust thing. I realize you, which I find fascinating, and actually I'm going to get emotional, and because you're awesome, you want to use your medical knowledge to help somebody who's in recovery. Basically, you want them, when they have a hiccup, when they're on the path to make themselves healthy, to say, look, you are predisposed to certain things, don't beat yourself up over it, which is beautiful.
It can be helping them confront that and understanding that it's not just about, because I think people don't want to confront something if they're told continuously, this is just your fault because you're lazy. You can't do this because you're not as good as the rest of us. And being disciplined or morally superior. I mean, that's where we've been for 50 years, and it hasn't helped people address or face a lot of the issues that's going on with them.
Right, but I don't say that. I never say that. So what I'm doing with the reason I'm discrediting the genetic component is because I think that, maybe I'm wrong about you, but for me, I think that is something that's really important in recovery. I'm with you on that. I think that's only an access.
I think it helps people get off the couch.
I totally disagree.
I don't. I think in having done therapy, having a little bit of experience here, getting to that insightful breakthrough of aha, you have to tear down enough of people's defenses. If people are continuously feeling invalidated or continuously feeling like there's something that they can control all of this, and they're just too lazy, or they're just too stupid, or they're just too morally weak, or they're just some personality, emotional variable. They're too emotional. It's really difficult for people to feel okay enough, to feel safe enough, to not feel threatened enough, to have that subcortical part of their brain turned off enough to really think about it and have the courage to face it. And I think that's why I want to think more about your martial arts example. I think there's a mix of the two, but it's not about feeling... I think feeling threatened has to be a component of it, to be motivating enough to look at it, but not threatening so much that it just cripples you. Does that make sense?
It does.
But it's the difference between examining the component and using it as an excuse, isn't it, really?
Yes. I think that's exactly the issue.
And I think people, but no, I don't think that's as big of an issue as people who don't struggle with a lot of things that they comment on. I think there's just this assumption that there's a correlation that it's an excuse if we even have that information out there, and I think that's absolutely bullshit. In fact, research shows that it's bullshit. In this whole disease situation, there may be some, but this whole sense of what a disease is. I mean, how do you define what a disease is? Disease is dysfunction of an organ, a dysfunction of the brain.
And just because someone's been 10 pounds overweight does not equate to being morbidly obese. My sister, after she had her baby, she was 11 pounds overweight, and she was like, "Oh, I know just how you feel, Xander." I was like, "You can't know how I feel."
I will say this, Xander. I will say this is that as somebody who has never struggled with a weight issue, always been very athletic and, playing sports, dancing into my adult life. After my second baby, I've struggled horribly with thyroid issues, lots of hormonal crap, and I have not changed my exercise regimen at all. In fact, increased it. I eat, as well as I've always eaten, and I've experienced the inability to lose weight because of these metabolic factors, and it's insanely frustrated. Even someone who's never had to deal with this, even someone who's not equated or associated emotional issues with eating, I see how people get frustrated, how people just say, what the fuck? I'm doing everything I can and it doesn't even matter. And I don't even have a huge emotional issue associated with overeating on top of that. And I'm just saying, I know, I'm not saying I'm in your situation, but the empathy can be there from other people in terms of that frustration piece.
Can I just point out that Jess Baker, the woman I went after, when I read her article, this is what goes on in my head. I read it, I see it, I use my giant fucking brain. That's whatever. What's the intuitive part of your brain? Where do you guys study that? Whatever that is huge.
Your intuition.
Your penis.
I will donate it. Yeah. I will donate my brain to you when I die, Katie, so you can look at what it's like to be incredibly insightful. I read her blog, and in 2 sentences, I leaned over to my friend. I said, this woman was abused or raped at some point. I went through her website. Within 5 minutes, there's a blog post, a visual letter to my rapist.
Okay.
This happens to me 10,000 times a day. It happens on the show. It happens on. So I've done my own research
so maybe
too.
your samples are skewed in that way. Maybe you are really discovering and speaking to a certain part of the population.
If that's possible, but you know, when it's
the
accurate, 1,000%
majority of people are not
of the time.
raped. The majority of people, are
the majority
not experiencing
of
trauma
people,
to the extent that their behavior is so disabling or dysfunctional that it's wrecking their life.
Yes.
I don't even know what you just said there. I lost you there, but say that again.
No, I would say I think you've identified an important subset of people. People who've had
if they're
abuse
a subset,
or trauma.
then I'm a magnet because it's literally every experience I've had. I mean, even people I haven't met, even people I've researched on my own that I have no connection with. This has happened.
So you're.
So, I mean, 1,000% accuracy. That's mathematical. It's not even 100%. It's 1,000.
1,000%.
But the cause and effect.
110%. I gave 110% on this.
I did. It's 100%.
Not 100.
But when I can only base things off my experience, so I admit when I'm wrong. I mean, again, in theory, I admit when I'm wrong. It hasn't happened yet. But when 1,010% of the time, my theory is proven correct within 10 seconds, every time there has to be a point where I have to recognize a pattern. And I think
so everyone all alcoholics, all people struggling with obesity, all people with depression have been sexually abused, physically abused.
No, I didn't say sexually abused.
Experienced some sort of trauma.
Exactly. That can be anything. That can be, like I said, different people have different sensitivities levels. But, yeah, there is a trauma at some point. Life sucks. Life is traumatic. I mean, we all have trauma.
Yes, that's a piece of it. We behave dysfunctionally, all of us, because none of us are perfect in terms of behavioral management.
But cause and effect are so intrinsically linked, I think sometimes it's very difficult to separate the two. They kind of they feed so much into each other, and sometimes it's hard to kind of separate them, I think. I mean,
but I wish I could invent a time machine. If I got one wish from a genie, I would say invent a time machine, and I would take every obese person, every alcoholic, every drug addict, every stripper, every prostitute, every fucking Wall Street stockbroker douchebag
every
guy,
podcaster,
celebrity actor, everyone who's fucked up. I would take them back, and I would put them in different upbringings with healthy parents, and I would love to just write down a little clipboard how their lives are different. I guarantee, I can't guarantee it. I'm pretty sure in my theory that if they were raised in a proper setting, they would not be as dysfunctional as an adult. And I stand by that. Now, does that mean they don't have different genetic components, different brains? Of course. Are some of them going to be fucked up anyway? Yeah, people are born psychopaths. I'm not saying that stuff doesn't happen. There's mutations. People are born fucked up. It happens. But the numbers would be drastically less. I tell you right now, obesity would not be a national epidemic. You name it. A drug addiction would not be a national epidemic. It would be completely different if these people were raised properly and never faced trauma. I'm telling you this. I wish I could prove it. I can't.
That's duh. Right? I mean, that's, of course.
Well, I don't know if it's an of course, because whenever I say anything like this, I'm always met with some
No, I don't think,
Everybody.
I don't think so. Really? It's giving you grief about that
obviously
statement.
not everyone,
that specific
Katie just
statement.
Said.
I just went to therapy last week, and she said I do ANT statements, which are you familiar with ANT?
AMP?
ANT, like an ant, like an animal, the little bugs you squish.
No.
It's like whatever it was. Number 2 was I was big on it. It was basically saying I'm a lunatic, and it was like you use terms like always and never.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So
that's one of your cognitive behavioral terms, Xander, that you were talking about, CBT, the all or nothing or the generalization. Yeah. It's irrational thought processes that we use.
I do that. I admit that.
We all have them, and again, we all have a certain level of dysfunction. So
yes, right.
If we could erase everybody's upbringing and put everybody into a perfect upbringing, which I don't even know what that would be.
It would be me with kids, probably, as the dad, most likely.
Wow.
So, but seriously.
You better get busy then if you really want to save everybody.
There's just one obstacle in the way, but I'm working on it.
Yes, Jake and Eli have been trying for a baby for years, but it's just not happening.
When you say of course, then Katie, how can you say of course they would be fine when you're talking about genetic predisposition and dopamine factors and all that stuff?
No, you said better off.
I said absent.
Not as dysfunctional.
Yeah, okay, you're right.
Yeah, of course.
But by not, okay, then I should say they would be pretty much as close to perfection as humanly possible, even though that is.
No, then I will disagree with you because we know that. I mean, you take monozygotic twins who share DNA, who share their genetic code, who are raised in the same environment that turn out really differently. You can't ignore the genetic piece, and it's a fascinating area of research. I wish you would look into it instead of just discounting it as a sham. I really do. I mean, and our points aren't, again, mutually exclusive. I mean, stress. Okay. We know stress is a regulatory mechanism to whether certain genes express or don't express, or how they're modified. And stress is an environmental factor. Toxins, our diet, exercise, all of those things. It's very complicated, and it hurts my heart when things get simplified in your AMP statements to all or not. And I realize that's how people listen, and that's how people.
That's how you make
people
a point.
Respond to you, but it's not. I think you're losing some of the valuable information in a point that's not.
All right, fine. Let me say it
correct.
this way: fatties are traumatized, but some fatties are genetically predisposed to being fatter than other fatties. So those super fatties
not all
probably
fatties are traumatized. They're just not. Not all alcoholics are traumatized. They're just not.
I'm just traumatized by your terminology, Jake. But
absolutely.
Which is another point that I'm making.
You know what's happening when you say fatty, when you say Xander, you're not running to the refrigerator. Xander's cortex is shutting down. He's not saying, oh, you're right. Oh, I see this. I feel in a safe enough place to be able to face a lot of my issues. No. He's becoming emotional, as he should. He gets angry. He gets upset. He's reacting responsibly. His sympathetic nervous system is going crazy, and he's not getting to the point where I think you would like him to get.
Well, let me ask you this, Xander, and answer honestly. I know what I want you to say, but don't, because I know you like me. But answer honestly. When we first met, when the first time we talked to now, do you feel that you're able to handle criticism or critique better than when we met?
Yes, definitely, but that doesn't mean I
Hold on.
less
Yes
or
no?
react any differently.
No, that's fine. Do you feel like?
Yes, and I've said this on several shows. But
do you feel like you can catch yourself reacting emotionally quicker?
Yes, I do, but that still doesn't
yes or no?
Excuse the way you communicate sometimes.
Do you feel like you are less sensitive to words now than when we first met?
Yes, but some words.
Okay, wait. I had an epiphany.
Okay, let's hear your epiphany.
So, what is the component of your approach, Jake, that we're not talking about? So it's not just being sort of in your face emotionally or shockingly to people. There's also another component that has to be there that goes without saying, and that's typically unrecognized, I think. And that's your ability to repair a relationship, right? So you don't just completely defame Xander. There's got to be a part of the relationship there that is restorative or that you repair. Does that make sense?
It does, and I don't feel like there's even a repair. You know my favorite moment, and I grew up in movies. I'm a kid of the 80s, so I'm totally fucked up. Do you know my absolute favorite moment ever was? Was in the original Karate Kid, when Ralph Macchio's going off, and he's like, I've been painting your fucking fence and waxing your goddamn fence when you let me teach me karate, you old bastard. I don't know, I paraphrased. And the fucking wax on, wax off moment, he started punching Ralph Macchio, and all of a sudden, the whole time, when he thinks he's just all pissed off about washing fences and painting cars, all of a sudden now he knows fucking karate. And that moment drastically impacted me, and I think about it all the time, and I'm telling you, there is a moment, a wax on, wax off moment, wax on, wax off coming for Xander. I'm telling you it's going to happen.
But let me tell you where this falls down, Jake, because other
it'll
people
be him
look
eating
to
too much,
you.
but it will be a moment.
Let me finish. Other people look to you for how to behave, because what you can say to me. Let me finish, because I'm going to mute you. What you can say to me is totally different than what someone else can say to me. And people look to you for how to behave towards me.
That's the million-dollar question.
Then,
why?
Yep. I want to know why.
Because I have a different level of relationship that I with him than people that I've met for 5 minutes on the internet.
Why would you want to be his friend if he is calling you a fatty?
Because I see the other side of him too.
Which is what?
Which is that he's actually a nice and genuinely caring person.
How do you know that?
95% of the time, because of the time that I've spent talking to him.
Okay. That's the recurring part of it.
Yes. And that doesn't, and that 5% of the time when I want to, pull off his nuts and stick them in a vice, does not detract from the 95% of the time yet. But my point was that.
So which part of that relationship with you, Xander, which part, the part where he's making you angry and wanting to pull off his nuts, or the part where you're, genuinely feeling like he's a good guy and a caring guy, which part of that part of his personality, if you will, or part of your relationship, do you think has inspired you to become a better person or to be more able to be less emotionally reactive?
It's very hard to. It is a combination. It's very hard to put into words, but he's a bit of a scab ripper, and I think.
But he
that
also band-aids it, and that's your genius, Jake. I'm figuring out your genius here on air as we talking about.
I know. That's why I'm being quiet. I'm listening to you. I'm watching this happen. It's amazing, actually.
It is amazing.
God, I love Katie. Who's flushing the toilet?
What was that?
That's Katie.
It was just a sound effect. I was just pushing his ego.
Shit, that totally lost my train of thought.
See, he's reacting emotionally. He wants to go eat. That's what he's doing. He's trying to stop you.
I don't want to go eat. I ate before we started the show.
You were talking about repairing, Katie.
Right. I mean, both aspects have to be there, and that's why you're such a genius.
Yes. Thank you.
Why does it always turn into?
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Did you get the notes for the show? That was not the aim of this show. You got your notes, didn't you? The aim of the show was not to make Jake feel like he had enormous testicles.
I understand. I am Jake's biggest fan, and I just am so thrilled and fascinated to understand why he's so effective.
I'm telling you why.
For the record,
No, I know.
I don't
I'm
disagree.
figuring out.
No, I'm sorry. You're telling me why.
The crux of why I was pissed with him, not last week, the week before, was not what he was saying about fatties. It was the stuff that he said about me.
Yeah, I
he
did go
said
after
stuff about me on his show.
Right.
And this is the thing.
That's
we
what's
talked
going to
about
trip him
afterwards.
up.
It was because he wanted to call. It was because he wanted me to call in and fight with him because it's such fun. But I didn't realize that.
It's entertainment.
And I never know how I'm going to be
and those
from
mutually
one day
exclusive goals are going to be problematic at some point.
I never know where I'm going to be at from one day to the next. So I don't know what my reaction is going to be like. Like yesterday, we had a death in the family, and it kind of upset me, but it didn't tip me totally off kilter, which normally it would. You see, to me, it's like I look at my progression like on a chart, and it's all onwards and upwards. Because when it's not, when you're standing still, it's like when you step on the escalator that's coming downwards, you only go backwards. You've always got to keep moving. And for me, I have to keep moving in order to not stand still. And if I'm having more good days than bad days, then I'm winning, basically. But I don't know when the bad days are going to be. That's part of the problem.
Can we go back to the Karate Kid for a second?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Do you think that, so how do I phrase this? the breakthrough there, his ability to do karate, basically, I think it's just the opposite. I think it's turning off sort of his cortex, right? So he's just responding. It's what you talked about that I wanted to think more about with the exact thing with your Taekwondo example, right?
Yes.
It's taking the introspection out there. You're reacting emotionally, but in a different way.
Me.
Anybody. When you get to that point. When you're just angry, emotion, and all of a sudden there's sort of that breakthrough that you're responding without, thinking and processing what's going on all the time. You're just responding, and you're responding in a different, more functional manner.
You're asking me if that's the goal?
I think that's the case in what you're talking about here.
Yes, I think yes.
And I think the behavioral change is actually happening without the cortex involved, and maybe that is what trips up so many people in therapy, because they get into this sort of, mental masturbation about what's going on and processing everything and not having the feeling component of it.
Yes. I mean, I've had.
But you've got to have
therapy.
both. You have to have both, right?
You do. Yeah, but here's the other thing. Different people are at different stages in their recovery or introspection, whatever you want to call it. So some people, I don't treat. You can listen to my show the way I talk to my Colt, or follow DM, or even my friends, or you even. I'm not the same guy with everybody. You know what I mean?
No, I know, absolutely. You can't.
So you can't. But different people respond to different things. There are different stages. There are some people that do need the mental masturbation, so to speak, of therapy. They've never talked about anything.
Right.
Yeah. They've never even connected the dots that there are feelings. There are certain people that have connected the dots.
What I'm saying is what you don't know what you're doing, what you're not even aware of, is there's got to be the sense of safety for people to be able to analyze their behavior. They've got to feel safe. You can't just be, threatening people, and you don't, right? I mean, you're not.
I don't.
No, you have both.
I have both.
Whether it's sort of explicitly people are aware of it or not.
Some people think I'm being attacking when I'm not.
No, there are times when you are, because it gets.
Well, there's times. No, and I'll admit to all of them. Like Xander, I did go after directly a couple weeks ago on the Fetish show. I called him out by name, and I was saying he was crying over food. I mean, I went directly after Xander on the show, so that I will admit to that.
And part
wait,
of
but tell her why you did that, because you explained to me. And because that mitigates it somewhat, but not totally. Tell her why you did that.
I can tell you what I told you, which is mostly true, which is, of course, I wanted you to call him for entertainment factor. But that's not the entire story. That's not the entire story.
So elaborate then.
I'm not going to elaborate.
No, why not?
Because
but that's why you're successful, right there, what you're not elaborating on. That's
I'm
all
not,
I'm saying.
I'll put it this way. You and I, Xander, you're not ready for me to elaborate on that answer, in my opinion, with my limited knowledge of everything. It's a gut feeling.
Okay.
I'm not ready to answer that question honestly. Actually, I'm sorry. You're not ready for me to answer that question honestly.
Is it because you're secretly in love with me and want to marry and have kids and stuff?
No, it's because I know I know you better than you think I do, and I know where you are, and I know what you're feeling, and I know.
I'm not sure you do. Mostly,
I do.
To be honest.
I do. I honestly
because
you have no idea.
Sometimes you say things and I think you don't know me at all, and other times I think, yeah, you know me quite well.
I don't know every thought or opinion
so far
that you have,
off
Xander.
the mark. What?
Listen, I don't know all your thoughts or opinions or politics or religion, so yeah.
No.
There'll be times where I'll guess you wrong, but I'm talking about deeper than that. And there are certain things you feel that you may be aware of, or you may not, that I can see. Again, I have that huge brain when it comes to this. I don't know why. There are things I see about you, and there are certain things that I think would be good for you to hear that would help you in the long term. Now, I'm not saying I'm a professional, so I could be totally wrong, and you could end up swallowing your tongue and killing yourself. That's the casualty of war. I'm learning too.
That's Jake's little favorite phraseology of late. Swallowing her tongue.
No, but seriously, Xander,
I fucking hate her. I hope she swallows her tongue.
Just trust. Let me just put it this way, and this is for anyone listening in the cold, or anyone that because I do have a Jesus complex. I admit to that. I'm trying to help everybody. Don't question the process just yet. Just go along with it. There'll be a wax on wax.
I think we have to question the process, there, Jake, because if we don't question the process, we subscribe to your
I asked you if you were less sensitive
warping
and more aware of your
process.
emotional reactions since talking to me. I asked you that, and you said yes.
Yeah.
Did you not?
That's
See,
fine.
that's good. That's good enough for me.
But it's not just because you criticize.
What's that?
It's not because you just criticize and that you're really funny and
of course
you're shocking.
Right.
Is the lesson of the day.
But it's not just your
that I did know.
that has changed the situation. You understand
Psychological
that, don't you?
ninja and knowing what people need to feel repaired.
I just think Katie's got pictures of you in your karate suit now, Jake. That's what it is.
And I'm totally distracted.
Yeah, no,
I
Katie,
actually need my deck.
I will
Flash.
Your what?
Yeah, get your cards out, Katie.
My patio. Painted.
Can I just say that Katie is the only
back
person
to
I will listen to? Katie, you're the only person I do listen to, really. Let's be honest.
Wow. You two need to talk more often, clearly.
See, this is what he does.
No, but this is true.
Exactly what he does. This is his.
I wanted to
this is the other half of his brilliance is figuring out what people need to hear.
No, this is what you need to hear. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear.
Secondary, but
you are unusual, Katie, because you have pretty much what's for me a contradiction. For me are two different things, which we're talking about, maybe empathy and being separate from science, which is how I view it. Because whenever I think of a scientist, I think of them poking shit in rabbits' eyes to see if it's bad for their eyeballs. So it's rare to be, in my opinion, it's very rare to find somebody who's a scientific-minded, mathematical
you are
person.
You are a scientifically minded person, and that's where you're wrong, and that's where I feel that can only enhance your approach.
You know, I was going to go into college to be a genetic engineer. Did you know that?
No, I think that's really fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And
but I dropped
really
out. They didn't have
as to why we issue the entire.
So did your mom check that?
You would be very surprised of my theories on genetics. You would be very surprised if you talk to the real, if you and I had a beer over genetics and the role it plays. You'd be very surprised.
It's actually epigenetics. That's a fascinating field.
Yes.
But I just think that could enhance your approach.
It would, but then I don't want a
because I
fatty
don't
to hear
want
like
getting
you've got a
tripped
chance.
up with these blanket amp statements and turning off people who could be helped.
Well, people that
Right?
can't be helped. I'm going to say this. Wait, you have to go, Xander? I got 3 more minutes. Let me just say this. There are certain, there's calling the
people
herd,
that
too.
can be helped, but
The people that can
turned
be
off
helped
with this seemingly
are
really
being helped.
simplistic view on life.
The people that can be helped by me are being helped by me. The people that can't are going to die, and that's something they have to live with. They're going to kill themselves, or they're going to continue their bad behavior. And I've as an empath, have had to separate myself from their death because I tried everything in my power to save them before they ate themselves to death.
Right, but that's why that's my only concern is because I know it tears you up. Otherwise, I wouldn't be concerned at all.
But then
you hate it when people aren't. Okay, yeah, another.
So let's just return to topic for 5 minutes rather than massaging Jake's ego.
I was actually blowing.
I want to talk a little bit about body image, Katie, because one of the things that I thought about when I was preparing for this show, how when I look at pictures of myself 20 years ago and think, my God, I was enormous. I was kind of like, just a few pounds overweight, and I don't know. I wish I was as fat now as I was then. I want to talk a little bit about body image and how we kind of allow others to feed into that.
No, it's hideous.
What?
I mean, you can talk extreme. I mean, like Jake talked extremes of morbidly obese people versus fit, healthy people versus anorexic.
Right.
But the devil's in the details with body image, and it's really a problem.
What
because
part
some people.
I'm sorry, you guys are talking at the same time. Was there a question?
Yeah, I was saying which part of it is a problem.
Well, I think there becomes a distorted view of what healthy body image should look like.
Oh, okay. I think that's true. Because as a guy, we have to be skinny, but we also have to be ripped and toned, and that's
absolutely. And we all know it's much more dysfunctional for young women, and at a time when your brain is developing and you don't have the ability. Everybody, really. I mean, we're always battling with that.
Do we do that to ourselves, or is that an outside pressure? I've always wondered.
I think it's both.
Yeah.
I think we respond to our environment, and then it's how we respond to our environment, and then we can exacerbate it or we can negate it. But it's hard. I mean, it's the same sort of theory of a continual message that you hear over and over and over again. Pretty soon you're responding
dangerous.
reflexively. You're painting a fence, and you don't even know why, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I know what I like
when you think about it.
Too. Well, I mean, like seriously though, no joke.
When you guys talk at the same time, I can't hear.
Well, I was gonna say when I masturbate to a photo or video of a woman, like there's there's a certain body type that helps me achieve orgasm quicker.
Right.
So that's got to be biological, no? You know what I mean? Like if it was a ugly person or a skinny or too fat, it's like I'd be like, oh, next video, I'm on Pornhub, next one.
But then
I think it's developed over time. What was attractive hundreds of years ago is not necessarily what's attractive now.
No.
I mean, again, it's not one or the other ever. So we know our environment can absolutely affect how our brain processes information and how we behave. So.
I'm sorry, my wife just brought me coffee. Surprisingly, that's the distraction. I'm just saying, like, okay, let me just throw this out. The body image thing, like, there's a certain body ideal that is attractive because it's. I would argue that when you're looking for a sexual partner, part of it is you're thinking about a child eventually, and you want a healthy partner. So
subconsciously.
If you're heterosexual, of course.
Right, but I think even gay, like, gay on gay sex, like, obviously you can't breed, but I still think that part's there.
Yeah, but I don't think it's hardwired. I mean, because of how much it's changed over the years. Again, 100 years ago, it was drastically different. And certainly even in the 80s, going back to Karate Kid, look at little Elizabeth Shue there. She was a little bit chubby, right?
Yeah, she was hot.
She was darling when we were young. And now I don't know if she would even make
for instance,
the cast, or even in other parts of the country where you see the big uns, particularly males, attract many of the females, which could be associated with other qualities or traits. But I think it's complicated.
But there is, all I'm trying to say is that there is some sort of biological aspect to attraction. And the only reason I bring that up is because, like, I'm not saying you guys are doing this, but like with that Jess Baker article, for instance, or other things that upset me is that sometimes I hear the other side of the argument a little too much, where it's like, we're beautiful too, and they're hideous looking people. Like they're actually like, it's a fact that they're hideous, and they are saying it's your media conditioning. It's the way you were taught. It's the images you were told as a kid that makes me not attractive. And I want to go, no, you're actually not attractive. Like, and I want that to be a biological thing, so that I can say, look,
of course,
you're actually not attractive.
Your argument, but I don't think that's.
But like there are ugly,
like, okay, beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Well, the kid from Mask, okay, he's ugly. He's got elephantitis of the fit, like the Elephant Man. That's not.
Correct.
That's not.
So now somebody who's obese we're comparing to someone who has elephantitis.
I'm just saying. Wow. No, I'm saying no. Why are you bringing up the obese thing? I'm saying in general, unattractive or ugly people. I didn't say obese. I said unattractive. So,
but you did.
So,
okay.
Well, I said
that you did earlier.
From your point that obese people
were
are
unattractive.
Hideous. No, not unattractive.
Ugly people are unattractive, is what I said. Ugly, fat, too skinny. Again, I said this all from the start. I said anorexic, muscle bound. They're all disgusting in some form or another.
But there are people who find, like even in the gay community, that there's a subculture of people called chubbies and chasers, people
and
that
bears.
like big people and bears. Yeah, Jake knows because he's a bear.
No, I know all about
beauty is in the beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Curious to me is your reaction to that, or when people react to people who are overweight in such a way.
Well, no,
to
me
that means like there's something that is going on for you about that.
Yeah, this is what's going on.
He's masturbating to fat women or something, Katie.
No. See, there's no. You don't even need to psychoanalyze me. I'll tell you. It's that there are a section of really ugly people.
There are people who are attractive and people who are unattractive too.
Okay, fine. I'm making the case that there are people that are unattractive. Period. Like that everyone would agree.
People with elephantitis.
Yeah,
from a physical standpoint, are unattractive. Yeah.
Physically unattractive. They may be the greatest person in the world. You may fall in love with them. Blah blah blah. Great. Let's play fucking movies and watch Showtime and Notebook and cry. But the truth is, they're hideous looking, right? Now, if a hideous person,
100 to 200 years ago, people who we would consider obese now were considered attractive. So something has shifted, right? It's not a biological hardwired reaction like you would like to think it is. I mean, back then, it was who's healthy, who has food. All of that was wired into what's attraction, right?
Yeah.
And so I do think, I think that absolutely highlights the sort of arbitrary nature of it.
Yeah, and I'm not disagreeing with that. I think that's true. I'm just saying the reason I come to
like, okay, go ahead.
You're asking why I'm emotionally reacting the way I am.
Right.
Yeah, I take personal responsibility for my own emotional reactions, unlike Xander. I'm telling you, it's people that are disgusting telling me that it's my fault I find them disgusting. That's
right.
I'm talking about a subgroup, very small percent. Yes, and I said that on the air twice now. It's like, this isn't even about fat people. This is about Jess Baker. This is specifically about Jess Baker.
But you yourself make it about fat people by saying,
no, but
all people who are overweight are disgusting.
Well, like obese are disgusting. Everyone will agree with that. Even the people that want obese people, like chubby chasers, there's something wrong with them. It's not attractive, and I'm pretty sure of that. I'm not talking 20. Like, you guys keep talking about back in the day or Marilyn Monroe. Like, those are beautiful people. They're attractive. They're not 900 pounds. They're not in a fucking chair with like.
So you're saying that Lana, what's her name, who was on your show on Sunday? She's married to Ralphie May, Lana Turner.
800 pounds something like that. Yes.
Yeah. So is there something wrong with her? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Tell me why you think that, Jake, because I'm intrigued.
Because 800-pound people are not
you just made.
800-pound people are not physically unattractive. I don't know why that's so shocking to hear. No, I mean, if there was in what everyone's thinking, I'm just brave enough to admit it, is the truth. No one finds that attractive. What she finds attractive is Ralphie May's personality, his sense of humor. It'll be things despite it. And if Ralphie May were 145 pounds and ripped, she'd be even more attracted to him.
When you're talking about specific physical attraction, but the problem becomes when we generalize, and that's the part of the entertainment and shock value of your life right now.
An ongoing theme for Jake, really.
I'm telling you why, though.
But can I just?
I'm sick of the bullshit.
I just want to make a point, Jake. I was going to call you Craig.
I have to get going.
Jake, I want to just go back to a point that you said that about me not accepting responsibility for my emotional reactions, and you're actually totally wrong on that.
Why would you say that, Jake?
I am so yeah. Why would you say that? Were you joking or were you serious?
I'm not going to answer that.
No answer because my point about this is purely that for me, I'm on a total learning curve with everything, and I know that I overreact to stuff, and I'm trying not to. But the thing is that the less emotional I try and be about stuff, the less careful people are. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do, and that's a defense, and I understand that, but that's not necessarily true.
But it's
an old
true
saying,
in my
like,
experience.
I know, but there's one of my favorite things. This goes to martial arts too. It's one of my favorite things. To become vulnerable is to lose all vulnerability. This is old, back to the Japs back in the day before they, killed Chinese people for fun.
Yep.
Yeah, the Japs. So the fear is that if you become vulnerable, you'll be hurt. But really, if you actually become vulnerable and you just go, people are going to attack me, they're going to hurt me, it's going to happen, then you actually lose all vulnerability. That's the end game that nobody ever tells anybody.
Right, and that's your end game, and I understand that, and I'm understanding more and more on why it's working.
Yeah. Okay, good. See, Xander's going to be okay. He's going to be okay.
I will always be okay, Jake. The thing is whilst I might well up at you about something, after I've gone away and analyzed it, I actually see it differently. Jake, when I used to when I
Can I make one other point, Xander?
Yeah.
I think the other thing that concerns me a bit with the cult following is that people don't understand. People see one side of your approach and not the other. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
And so what?
And I'm weeding the weak ones out so they can kill themselves, and my cult will get stronger.
It's not weak. I don't even. I'm talking because I don't know them well, but I'm just talking in general. When the shock value of your message is sort of what needs to be on the front burner for entertainment purposes. People don't see the behind the scenes.
I think you need to come on Jake's show, and we need to do a whole show about the cult of Jake.
They do. Honestly, sorry to ignore you on your own show, Xander. But they do. That's why.
Feel free.
A lot of times, let me tell you this. God, I hate giving all my secrets away. One of the things
and you're getting the wonderful Jake now.
Luckily, no one listens to Xander's show. So I don't really understand. No, really.
Fuck you, asshole.
The secret is, a lot of times people go, why is this cult? Why are these people you don't know so loyal to you? You know, why do they like you so much? You're so mean. You come like a lot of times people are confused. A lot of times people go, you hate fatties, but then you look to my followers, 70% of them are not, you know, they're not swimsuit models. They're not.
Because your greatest gift is your insight into other people and what particular people need to hear.
Yeah, and the people
and
that
that's
find
why
me,
you're so successful, because you can tell people things that are threatening.
Well, I'm not
because
successful.
you also figure out individually what everybody needs to hear.
Yes.
What each people,
but there's a reason
what
why
each
you're not
person
as
needs to hear.
successful as you want to be, isn't there?
Yeah, there's my message is very hard to receive. It's not popular because most people are too fucked up to hear it. So I've already
I've
already given up the fact that I won't be successful.
No, I meant because you're lazy, but go on. You know that's true.
We should
you put as much effort. If you put as much effort into your career as you did your opinions, you'd be bigger than fucking Jay Leno. But you know.
Well, you know, again, here's the deal. Here's the last thing I'll say. There's a moment that happened for me. Happens every day. Epiphanies, we all know the term. That when you least expect it, that I believe everybody has, whether I intervene or not. So this is not Jesus complex talking. This is just life. There are moments that come through life where you're faced with head-on with your emotional reactions and where you're responding to old patterns and things that you need to change in order to grow and be a better person. It would behoove you to do so. And these moments, for some of us, happen on the hour, some happen on the day, some month, whatever. At the very least, if you can get people to be aware and at least build up the antenna that these moments do happen and that they should look for them and that they should look at them as a positive thing because it's telling you right to your face, this is what you need to work on, instead of ignoring it or eating or drinking to avoid that feeling of uncomfort. To recognize that feeling is a powerful learning experience, a powerful opportunity, I should say. Just giving somebody that insight, that these things do happen, you can catch them, and you can make yourself better, I think that's more than enough.
But it's not.
No,
it cannot exist on its own. You have to have the other component that you do so brilliantly. You absolutely do. You have to empower people. You have to make people feel safe, which you do in less publicized ways. And
what
the combination
the hell is that?
is what makes it so successful.
No, you're absolutely right. This is the wax on, wax off scene in the background.
You're crazy. I know we're kind of coming to the end very quickly to the end of our time, but there's just one more thing.
Xander, show me
Wow. I'm not gonna have you on my show again, Jake. I've decided. Katie, Dr. Katie.
Yes.
One thing I really wanted to ask you about that particularly interested me. I wonder if you could elaborate a little bit. Apparently, they're saying research is suggesting that the obesity and depression link is biology, notably the hormonal pathway known as the HPA axis. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit more about that in layman's terms.
About the HPA axis in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually have to get going. Not to be rude.
No, I do the babies up. Xander, yes, I think there are a lot of links. Again, it's not all biology and it's not all environment, but what we know now, which is so exciting in the field of neuroplasticity, is that our environment actually changes our brain, and and vice versa. And so to ignore one aspect of that, I think, is imprudent, to say the least, because you can, by making changes in your behavior, by making changes in your environment, you can change your brain. I think people have certain genetic codes, and even more importantly than the genetic code we're born with are regulatory mechanisms, again, anything from the environment to what you're eating to how you're experiencing things that affect how genes are expressed, which also play a role. And I think there are certain very obvious pathways to stress, to memory. It's not surprisingly that stress or cortisol release happens in your memory centers of the brain, also a really important site for a lot of our mood disorders when there's dysfunction in those parts of the brain. So yes, there will be links. There are links, and we can have a whole show on it.
You should have Katie on by yourself because, yeah, her science stuff is fascinating, and I always ruin it. So you should have her. I won't come on. My feelings won't be hurt.
Hey, I was joking. I don't think you ruined it.
No.
I think that,
just
all the
listen now.
perspectives are.
I know, but you should have her on by yourself.
Are important. But actually, in closing, I just want to share with you both that obviously part of this was to talk about obesity and the science behind it, but also it was important to try and actually get people to look at all aspects of the contributory factors and not just one. And I think that we went a little bit towards doing that. Would you both agree?
Yeah, and I think it's important. And I learned a lot from this episode. And for the record, Katie is not a sham or a pseudo. I only do that so she'll call in.
No, and Jake is not an ass, and he's not a belligerent, selfish piece of shit at all.
Not at all.
He is a wonderful person.
Thank you, Xander. I just want to say for the record, Katie, what I was going to say was that neuroscience is young. It's young, and you haven't figured everything else out yet. And I was
nor has anybody.
Yeah, but I mean, like you can't.
And second, you can't throw the baby out with the bath. Or the
right, exactly, with the kitchen sink.
Right.
Right. No, of course. But I'm just saying, I don't think it's a sham.
It is.
No, I know it's just when you guys start making real deep connections and figuring shit out, then I'll be on board and I'll say
we are.
Yeah.
And that's why I think you can really. Okay.
Okay, here's what we need to do.
That's the missing piece of your puzzle, and I know you don't think you need it. I mean,
I do need it
to do this level of what you're doing, but.
I think I do.
To go to the next level, you need it. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes, it does, and I agree with you. So we need to have a phone call, you and I. Honestly, that's not recorded. Seriously, because I have a lot of questions.
Record it, Katie. Record it.
Do not record it. I think we have to have. I would like to have this conversation when the people I'm trying to save from eating themselves to death aren't listening. So, is that possible?
Absolutely.
You seem uncomfortable by that.
No, absolutely. No, I was just looking at the monitor. The baby's up. So.
Okay, I'll let you go.
Let's schedule
perfect
timing. Okay.
All right.
Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I look forward to us all talking again about another aspect of psychology. Thank you to Jake Pentland. Check out the Jake Pentland Show. And thank you to Dr. Katie Levisay. Check out her page on the Flip Collective and read her interesting articles. Thank you both so much, and I look forward to talking with you both again very soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Cool. Thank you, Xander.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, that was Dr. Katie Levisay and Jake Pentland from the Jake Pentland Show and the Jake Pentland Institute. Now, call us on 347-884-9061 for the last section of the show, What's Your Beef? That's 347-884-9061. Call us now. Do you have any comments on the show that we just did? Do you have a beef about something in particular? Call us now and tell us how you feel. Indeed, call us on 347-884-9061. We are live with you for the last section of the show. Call us and tell us what's your beef, who's pissed you off, what you're not very happy about. I know some people are calling in. While we wait for them, I just want to tell you a couple of my beefs. One of them today is this week I've had 3 emails from different companies asking me what I'm doing for my dad for Father's Day. Well, the answer is nothing because, unfortunately, he's no longer with us. But thanks for reminding me of that fact. Shape up and stop sending stupid random emails to people that might cause offense. And also to MySpace, stop damn spamming me and stay gone. We don't want you. We didn't want you before. We don't want you now. So we ain't coming back. Also, while Father's Day is in my mind, happy Father's Day to all the gay dads out there and to all of the single fathers out there. I want to, on behalf of the Cult of Jake, welcome its newest member, Jenny Mullen, a.k.a. Jenny and Teets. Follow her on Twitter. Get well soon, as she's feeling sicky today. She has the flu, so send her your love. Also, please add to your prayer list Jake Pentland's erectile dysfunction, because the only thing that's getting him up in the night at the moment is his bladder. And also pray for Jen Madlou and her pendulous sagging breasts from having children hanging off them, feeding all day. Okay, don't forget that number, 347-884-9061. Call us, Brody. I'm sure there's someone you're pissed off with this week. Rachel, if you're still there in the chat room, call us, 347-884-9061. I also want to mention I was invited yesterday to a little tasting, being the Z-list celebrity that I am, for a new company called Tastefully Simple with my friend Kristen, and the stuff was really good. I encourage you to check out Tastefully Simple, www.tastefullysimple.com/web/KBEATTY1. I'll tweet that out after the show. Check them out for some tasty options for entertaining. So no one's calling in. I thought there was a couple of people calling in. I also want to, Marv says, how dare I refer to Jen's breasts as pendulous and sagging? It just comes naturally. You can say things about people that you care about, hence all the BS they said about me yesterday, plotting to kill me. I hope someone in the FBI is out there listening, because if I'm ever found dead at the beginning line, I was going to say finishing line, you won't get me at the finishing line of a marathon, you'll know that it's Mad Lou and Jake Pentland responsible. All right, I'm just going to check. Oh, we have a caller. Just before I take the call, I just wanted to say thank you so much to Eric Spencer for my new logo for XANDERMONIUM. It's absolutely great. Thank you, Eric. Let's see who our caller is. Hello, caller. You're live on XANDERMONIUM. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, Xander. It's just Brody calling.
Hi, Brody. How you doing?
I'm good. I just wanted to say I don't have any beef this week, surprisingly, but I just wanted to say
wow,
that it was a show. And I don't think people give Jake enough credit for, like, the advice and stuff that he gives people, because he's really smart. And so is Katie, and so are you.
Thank you. I don't disagree with you, and my point was just about one specific issue with regards to how he deals with the topic of obesity. Nothing else. Unlike other people who we've seen today who've been talking shit about Jake, I don't have an issue with Jake, and I kind of have to make it clear for people. I have a particular type of relationship with Jake where we bitch one another all the time, just like I bitch you. And some people see that from afar and think that we hate each other, but we don't. We're actually, I would consider that we're quite good friends. But from the outside, people who are not involved in these relationships, they might kind of see it that there is an issue, as it were. But clearly there isn't.
Now that I think about it, Xander, there was somebody that I have a problem with, and it was only today that it came to my attention. It was on a Facebook post that you made about the show, and some stupid bitch named Moo Lips commented saying how stupid Jake was. I don't have the exact quote up right now, but if you have it, you should read it to everybody, just so to provide them with a little bit of context to what I'm talking about.
I don't have it in front of me, but I know what you're referring to, because several people messaged me about it during the show, and I think Linda, if you're listening, you should call in and tell us how you feel. 347-884-9061. I appreciate you have a beef with Jake, and you don't like the way that he talks about people who are obese, and that's fine too. But anything over and above that, cunt. I think you what?
She's a dumb cunt.
Okay, that's your words, Brody. I think she. I think that yesterday what happened was she was trying to be protective, sticking up for me, but she didn't. She was kind of she had got it wrong, and Jake wasn't attacking me. It was, again, just the kind of fun that we've been.
No, but Xander, I don't think she was trying to protect you. What I think she was doing was using you as a tool to attack Jake. Because I think that was her
I think that's possible too, but you know me well enough to know that I'm not going to be a party to that, and I will make that clear when I get off air. If you have a credible beef about anybody, you have to go to them. I know that this section is called "What's Your Beef," but I'm not going to turn it into an attack section about anybody. But I do agree with you.
I'm allowed to, though, aren't I?
What?
I'm allowed to turn it into an attack section, aren't I?
Oh no. You can talk about shit that bothers you, but I don't want to kind of gang up on any one individual. What you say is up to you, because I'm not responsible for your comments. I'm only responsible for mine. You know what I'm saying?
And that's why I think that she's a stupid cow and she needs to leave Jake and everybody else alone, because she can't take responsibility for being fat, so she attacks people. So I'm attacking her.
Well, I think we've made history today, Brody, because Marvin just said in the chat room he agrees with your assessment. So let him sitting down, because if not, I would have fallen down. But I definitely see what you're saying, and I agree with you, and I will definitely take these points up after the show. It's kind of hard to, while the show is going on, deal with things that are kind of over and above it. But I actually totally agree with your point. And that she shouldn't try and use things, potential issues.
Use you to attack Jake.
Absolutely. So is there anything else you want to share with us?
Call in.
What?
If she's listening, she should call in.
She should. 347-884-9061. Linda, if you're listening, call in and tell us how you feel, what your side of the situation is. And tell us if you agree with Brody. We are in the very last segment of the show. I'm still kind of, reaming from Marvin agreeing with you in the chat room. Marvin and Rach spoke in the chat room today. Wow, you see the power of XANDERMONIUM.
You're bringing people together.
I am bringing people together. Yeah, absolutely. I must go and sign up for that new MI5 plan with not MI5. What's it called? My brain is gone. Friends and FBI plan with Verizon.
Yeah, I heard. What was that about? Like, I thought I heard Jake mention something about that on the show. Did he?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. That's what all that was a dig at, really. That the FBI, with the government's permission, had been listening into our calls. And they're trying to get, bye Rachel, thanks for joining us. They're trying to kind of listen to our tweets to get in on our internet life, which is, unconstitutional. But a lot of these things have been bypassed by saying that it's part of prevention of terrorism. This is why, yes, Marv, that's at 347-884-9061. I think that they're trying to bypass a lot of things and push them in through the back door and say that they're in order to prevent terrorism. But I still don't think that it's an excuse, really, to say, oh well, it's a part of the Prevention of Terrorism Act. What do you think?
This is one of the few instances in which that I'm proud to be a Canadian, because it's so fucked up in the United States with all of the government corruption that it's, pleasing to live here at times. But yeah, sucks to be you guys.
Well, I kind of this is the thing, and I'm sure you'll agree that whatever country you live in, there are things that you like and there are things that you don't like, and you're not gonna agree with everything. But this particular thing is too much, really. It's not. It's not acceptable to be listening in on our phone calls and stuff, and then say that it's prevention of terrorism. Because, and then the other thing I think they said was, we've been doing it for years. Well, okay, that makes it fine.
I wouldn't trust either of the Bush administrations, because they're more fucked up than any administration that's ever been in the White House. So they've probably been doing it, forever now.
I think there's a lot to be said about all of this.
Republicans can go to hell and go fuck themselves.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. It's all going to hell in a handbasket, but I think that we've still got to fight for the rights
Republicans.
that we have left.
I said Republicans can go to hell and go fuck themselves.
Not all Republicans. My philosophy has changed somewhat over the past year or so. I've met some really nice Republicans that are more like libertarian than Republicans, but still consider themselves.
But you know what I equate most Republicans to? There are some nice Republicans, but they're almost like people with Down syndrome. They're nice and all, but they're stupid, and you just have to treat them as so.
Right. I would agree, but I think that we can't generalize. I'm glad you said some, because that's always my particular beef about some things that we all tend to generalize about stuff. If a Chinese person pisses you off, that doesn't mean that all Chinese people are bad,
Most of them are.
So anyone else you don't like, Brody, besides Republicans and the Chinese?
Xander, I'm an equal opportunity offender, and I hate everybody. So, just bring something up, and I'll be sure to bitch about them.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for calling, Brody. I don't think anyone else is going to call in. I don't think that Linda's going to call in and respond to your points. It's been a really long show. I'll just point a couple of things out from the chat room. Marvin says, separate politicians for citizens. Kathy said she wishes you would call up every week, and that 99% of Republicans are assholes. Marvin said...
I agree, Kathy.
It's the politicians on both sides that are fucked up. I tend to agree, Marv. Well, listen, thank you for joining us, Brody. Thanks to Jake, Dr. Jake Pentland. Yes, I am aware. Thank you for all the tweets. I know Jake is not a real doctor. Have a look on my Twitter bio. It says that I'm a comedian, which would dictate that I'm allowed to be funny. Thank you to Dr. Katie Levisay. I hope she's going to join us again. Brody, you should definitely come and co-host again really soon. Thank you all for joining us.
Thanks for taking my call today.
Thank you for calling, Brody. Take care. And we will see you again same time next week for another episode of XANDERMONIUM. Thanks a lot, and I love you all.
London has been good to me this time around. Things were bound to change when it was